My name is Grace Kuno.
I'm Jeff Hearn.
I'm Peace Kigua.
I'm Rebecca.
My name is Ndomiso Ngcobe.
I'm Neo Ndlovu.
I'm Vimar.
My name is Jordana Matlon.
My name is Mpumlelo Phakathi.
I'm a researcher at UNISA's Institute for Social and Health Sciences, and I'm also a PhD student, and my PhD is about women's post-rape experiences, so how they kind of understand and integrate that trauma into their lives.
I'm currently doing my master's in development studies at Virgin University, and my focus, I'm looking at the relationship between traditional leaders and elected ward councillors and local government, and how does that relationship impact service delivery.
Student at UNISA, doing an MA in Theory of Literature.
I'm a senior lecturer in psychology at Wits University.
I'm the final year student at UNISA in the Department of Psychology, and doing a research on LGBT and their experiences in primary healthcare facilities in South Africa.
I am an assistant professor at the School of International Service at American University. I study African masculinities and the lives and livelihoods of men in the informal economy, specifically in urban contexts.
I'm a professor of sociology at the University of Johannesburg.
I suppose the thing I would say is that people, as with any word, use the term in different ways. But I suppose the most usual way is something around how men, or people who are called men, behave, act, do things, have identities, change across their life as they get older, how they are constructed, either by other people or in the media or in politics or by their friends and family, those kind of things. But then there's a kind of second complication, is that it's not only about linking masculinity to men, or people who are called men, because you can also talk about female masculinity, for example, and then other people that would actually contest the whole idea of whether one should talk about masculinity and femininity as two sort of separate boxes and actually want to go across or transcend, go across that boundary. Okay, but the usual way is somehow linked to males or men and how men do things in certain ways, or how men think about themselves, or try and achieve certain things, or try and suppress certain things like emotions, you say, or sometimes do violence and so on and so forth.
Masculinity, I guess, it's that set of practices, right? That set of expectations, that set of roles and rules. It's this kind of conglomerate of things that you have to kind of navigate, right? To call yourself a man, if that's what you want to do, right? I hope that's not too convoluted an answer.
Masculinity, ke bonna. It's what it means to be a man. It is defined, or it means different things in different contexts. In other spaces, it might mean having a job. It might mean providing. It might mean having one partner. It might mean having 10 partners. A lot of people emphasize the ability to provide when they think about what it means to be a man. I remember when I was growing up, I had a conversation between my uncles and grandfather, and they were emphasizing what it meant to be a man in the early days of apartheid. It meant to have a passbook, because it meant access to work.
Masculinity, perhaps coupled with what we have been discussing in a class, there is a redefinition of masculinity, defining a man who can provide, perhaps a man who has got amandla, power. That's how I would define masculinity. But there are so many redefinitions that came. For example, a man who does not have power, is he not a man? So many questions that are there. Yes.
I think very simply for me, masculinity is about identity, but it's also about practice and it's about behavior. And it's all of these things. It's never these things separate. It's all of these things simultaneously. It's who we are and what we think we are, but it's also about the kinds of everyday things that we do with our bodies, but also in terms of our thinking, our feeling. It's about our relationships. So it's all of these things.
To me, masculinity is it's a learned trait by men, which is an expectation from the community. It's not something that someone is born with. It's someone that somebody is learning as they grow, and they believe this is how I'm expected to be.
I think if I think about masculinities, I think about ideas that act on people's sort of bodies and consciousness and emotions in very particular ways. So masculinities are a sort of set of social cultural expectations about how men should think, what they should do, how they should feel about certain things. And obviously those don't only affect men, but they also affect women, who are constructed as sort of not masculinities, and then also people of other genders who fall outside that kind of category.
I mean, I'm almost tempted to say masculinity is men, right? But that is not what it is. I think masculinity, it is traits, characteristics. It is, it has to do with how we are socialized as men. It speaks of characteristics that we embody or beliefs that we embody, whether about ourselves or about society. Yeah.
What is masculinity to me? With all of my work, I'm quite interdisciplinary and I focus more on questions, so even more narrow than a masculinity scholar. I study breadwinner status, and so I like to think about not rooting, or that you must root any analysis of identity within some kind of structure. And so beyond studying masculinity or even asking what I think masculinity is, that's a more difficult question than answering what is masculinity expected to be vis-a-vis capitalism. And then we go back to the breadwinner status, which is my entering the field of masculinity studies.